YouTube, what's up? Welcome back to a new video. If this is your first time here on the channel, thanks for stopping by. Definitely check out some of my other videos, and if you like what you see, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Y'all, the excitement that I feel right now is crazy. Just because we are less than a week away from the release of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And I can't even believe it. I don't know what to do with myself. It's been a really long time since I've been this excited to play a new release. And because, Tears of the Kingdom is less than a week away, I wanted to share with you, because I've never done this before, I wanted to share with you my personal top 5 Zelda games. Crazy to think that I have never done this type of video before, considering how much I do enjoy the series and just overall how much this series means to me. And with that also being said, I do want to mention that I am going to steer away from the narrative stuff in these games and just focus on like my thoughts behind them, how I felt when I played them, that sort of thing. So coming in hot at number 5 is The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap. Boy, oh boy, I enjoy a good handheld Zelda adventure. I gotta tell you, I do. The Minish Cap originally released for the Game Boy Advance back in 2005. Gosh, that's so long ago. It's crazy because I remember my son and I going, he was in kindergarten, and I remember him going with me to GameStop to go pick up my pre-order for the Minish Cap, and me coming home and popping it into my Game Boy Advance and just absolutely just being enthralled by the entire experience. Minish Cap has this classic Zelda vibe to it. It looks great. It has like a Link to the Past type of vibe to it. Very classic Zelda, but it felt different. And looking back on it, it probably has a lot to do with the fact that Capcom developed this game, and I didn't know that at the time. At that time, I didn't even care about who was developing what. But looking back on the Minish Cap, you can see how different it is compared to other Zelda games, but it still feels like that traditional Zelda, if that makes any sense. One thing that I love about the Zelda series in general is that while the games are, for the most part, they tend to be traditional, right? Zelda games. There's always something that sets them apart. And what I really enjoyed about Minish Cap was the shrinking ability. I thought that was just the cutest thing ever. Matter of fact, if I could just use one word to describe the Minish Cap, it probably would be cute. Because that's just what it was. When I think about it, I'm like, this is such a cute game. And I really need to go back and play that game just because I feel like I haven't touched it in years. Game number 4 was released on the GameCube back in 2002. It's The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Now I realize I'm showing you the Wii version, the HD version, but I don't have my GameCube copy anymore. But yes, I did play it on the GameCube, played through it on the GameCube, and really loved it. Matter of fact, The Wind Waker was the reason why I decided to go and pick up a GameCube. The Wind Waker, I remember back in the day, it almost was like either you loved it or you hated it. And that's before the game came out, because it was such a big deal about the art style, like the chibi, cel-shaded art style of Link. Oh my gosh, people either loved it or they absolutely hated it. They wanted like a more realistic vibe to the game. I was in the camp where I actually love the art style of Wind Waker. I think for some strange reason the cel shading and just like the chibi style, the young Link or Toon Link, whatever you want to call it, he evokes so many like facial expressions. I thought it was pretty cool. Besides me loving the graphics, there were a lot of other things that I really did enjoy about Wind Waker. One of them was the sailing. Now, yes, okay, and this might be an unpopular opinion because I do realize that towards the end of the game or later on in the game, and again, I don't want to spoil anything, and I know this game has been out for forever, right? But you do have to spend time searching for some things out in the open sea. And that was a little tedious. Now, that part of the sailing I didn't like, right? But overall, the exploration of the sea I found to be really relaxing. I also really did like Tetra. Okay. And we all know the deal with Tetra, right? Again, don't want to spoil anything, but I really did like Tetra. I thought she was badass. And I also appreciated the side quests in the game because there were a few side quests. Yeah, so mostly for me, the reason why Wind Waker resonates so much with me is just that sense of discovery, and like it makes you feel like you're on, not to say, definitely not shading any of the other Zelda games, but it definitely makes you feel as if, with your boat and you're sailing, it definitely made me feel as if I was on an adventure, and just like I didn't know what type of island was popping up when I was out at sea. And Tingle shows up. What a character. I don't know. For me, I definitely feel like this was the first time I came across Tingle, or maybe I just noticed Tingle. But yeah, Tingle's in Wind Waker. Game number 3 definitely surprised the hell out of me, and that's The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. So this originally dropped back in 2013 for the Nintendo 3DS, and again, it just surprised the hell out of me. A Link Between Worlds is definitely my jam. It's like a spiritual successor to A Link to the Past, right? And it definitely has that vibe. This is one Zelda game where the story just hit home for me. Like I really did enjoy the story in A Link Between Worlds. Now, I'm not going to spoil the story for anyone out there who hasn't had the opportunity to play the game. And if you haven't, you definitely should. But, it's really nothing new. Link is trying to bring peace back to Hyrule. But, there's an evil sorcerer and Zelda needs to be rescued. But at the end of the day, the story really is good. I really do appreciate the classic Zelda vibe. And when I say classic, I'm leaning more towards like A Link to the Past, since this is like a spiritual successor to that game. But I really do love like the classic vibe of this game. Honestly, I do. Of course, since it is a spiritual successor to, A Link to the Past, you have your worlds, right, that you can traverse between. But then there's also like Link, and I love the Link in A Link Between Worlds. Link can like merge onto walls, and I think that opens up. So it's almost like a painting, like he can just like, hang out on a wall and traverse around. And I think that, I don't know, that just changed up the whole gameplay and puzzle solving for me. I really love that about this game. I remember feeling a little skeptical upon release because news, I remember reading articles and seeing well, maybe not videos, but I definitely remember reading articles about how you could rent items off the break. So you could go in and rent bombs, arrows, the bow, all types of stuff, right? And I was like, this isn't gonna be what, I'm looking for, but it turned out to be amazing. A Link Between Worlds will always have a special place in my heart. It brings back kind of bad memories, but also it helped me get through a really tough time. My mom came back from Argentina in early 2014. She went on a trip there and came back, and she was super sick. Super sick. And of course she was being stubborn, didn't want to go to the hospital. And I managed to get her to the hospital. I took her to the hospital with force, just a little bit, but she needed to go. I had to pull her ass out of the bed and take her to the hospital. And while we were in the emergency room, she went septic on me. And, come to find out, she had a really bad blood infection. And, I didn't even know, I didn't know if my mom was going to make it. You know what I'm saying? So it was really rough. But I stayed with my mom the whole entire time she was in the hospital. And I played a bunch of this game. So this game does bring back some bad memories for me, right? But it got me through that time that I spent with my mom at the hospital, just waiting for her to get better. I literally was just like sitting there and playing this game and trying to deal with everything that was going on. This totally made me, at least help me try to forget about some of the things that were happening in real life. I'm going to share with you number 2. I feel like I really don't need to speak much about it, but it is The Legend of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was released back in 2017 for the Nintendo Switch. It was a launch title. Crazy, right? And I didn't know what to think at first when I played this game. And I won't spend too much time about it because I did speak about Breath of the Wild in one of my most recent videos where I was talking about the amount of time I spent with Switch games, right? Put a lot of time, I want to say like 96 hours, 95 hours into Breath of the Wild. But I didn't think I was going to like Breath of the Wild. There were a couple of factors that, were kind of making me look like, oh, this isn't going to be it for me, fam. This isn't going to be it for me. One of them was the open world feel of it. Prior to Breath of the Wild, I wanted a traditional like Zelda experience, right? I wanted the dungeons, your boss fights, do this, do that. Like I wanted the traditional Zelda experience. This totally veered away from all of that, right? The formula that we have grown, or at least I had grown to love. The weapon degradation was a big ugh for me. Like I was just like, really? Why are we doing this in a Zelda game? I didn't get it off the break. I really didn't get it. It took a little while for me to just like understand Breath of the Wild, And once I did, it's just like snapped, and I was like, I can't get enough of this game. I can't get enough of this game. I love open world games, and I think I don't want another Zelda game that isn't open world. It's crazy to say that, right? But I love the sense of adventure in this game. Hyrule is awesome. I love the sense of adventure in this game. I love the fact that I could play the game one way while someone else could play it totally different. I love that. Or I could explore one area and someone might not even come across that area throughout their entire playthrough. I love that about Breath of the Wild. I really love the cooking mechanic in Breath of the Wild. I enjoyed the whole outfit mechanic in Breath of the Wild as well. As far as like, depending on where you are in Hyrule or whatever, you need to make sure that you are wearing the proper garb so that Link is on par, you know what I'm saying? And he's not suffering. The weapons as well. I really enjoyed that. I eventually learned to love it. That's pretty much all I can really say about Breath of the Wild. I mean, I'm sure you guys have played this game. You know what the deal is. If you know, right? But this really is a special game. And, I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it and love it as much as I did. But it turns out I love it to pieces. All right, here I am at the #1 spot. My favorite Zelda game, #1, is The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. There was just something about me popping in the Link of the Past, popping that into my Super Nintendo and playing it for the first time and me being like, oh my gosh, this is truly an adventure. That's honestly how I felt. Like the graphics, the music, it was all just amazing to me. A Link to the Past was the first game that I beat on my own. Now, how long it took me to beat, it's another story. It took me months to complete, but I did it. And I was so happy that I did it because it turned out to be one of my, A Link to the Past isn't just one of my favorite games, Zelda games, right? It definitely is one of my favorite games of all time. Like I have memories of playing this game throughout the summer and, at that time I was going away to summer camp. So my parents would send me away. I'd go to like another state for summer camp with like friends and stuff. And I remember being pissed that I couldn't bring my Super Nintendo along with me to summer camp because there was no TV and I couldn't play Zelda. That's how like obsessed I was with this game. Those memories are deep. Those are some deep memories of me like just really loving a video game and never really, video games had always been a part of my life, but I also like to go outside. I played basketball, since when I was like 4. I started playing basketball when I was like 4 or 5. I read all the time, so video games were always kind of there. But A Link to the Past was the first game that I had that feeling where I just don't want to put this game down. I don't want to put the controller down. I just want to play. Like the first game that ever blew my mind. It blew my preteen mind. I had never played a game that just blew my mind like that, and just made me want to just keep playing it. And it was just a combination of just how amazing the game plays. Like the controls are so tight. It felt great to play, and the music is phenomenal. The graphics are great. I mean, just this is a combination of everything that you could possibly think of that makes it the best game of all time for me. So yeah, The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past is my favorite Zelda game ever. I don't know if that's ever going to change. It's been like that for years. And there have been some games that have gotten close. Like Breath of the Wild was really close to being my favorite. But I don't think there's ever going to be a Zelda game that comes along that'll blow my mind the way that A Link to the Past did. Those are 5 of my favorite Zelda games, my top 5 Zelda games. Let me know what your top 5 Zelda games are, though. Let me know in the comment box below. I always want to hear what you guys have to say. As always, I want to thank all of you for watching this video, and I'll check you next time. Peace.